Hi, so this is day 2 of the complete tutorial for the Impasto Brush Pack. So yesterday we worked on the base painting and today we'll be coloring it and adding some details. So today is still considered like regular painting. The Impasto effects starts tomorrow. Okay, let's jump right into it. So we have this yesterday and these are our layers. We have like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the layer setup is going to be like this. For every layer, we're going to add color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and the leftover canvas. So 6 layers. So every time we add color, this is what we're going to do. We're going to click on the layer that we're adding color, add a new layer, which will create a new one on top. So let's just rename it. And then set it to clipping mask. So whatever color that we are painting would just paint over whatever that we have for that layer. Okay, so this is how we're going to change color. So that's the layer setup, and then now comes the color picking part. So let's say I want to add like blue shadows here. You can tell this is wrong, right? Why is this wrong? The value is different, so we need to be able to match the value. So if we are going to do this manually, you can just open this up and try and pick a blue that matches the value. So we can see here that it's still brighter. So continue tweaking until it disappears. So like right now it disappears already. So when it disappears, you know that it's the same value. And if you want blue color for these shadows right here, so this is how you're going to do it. You're going to add the blue right here. And then if you want red here, you can just swap this to red and check it first. So every color has inherent value. So that is why the blue matches, the red is still brighter, because if you change the slider here, you're changing the color. Once you change the color, you need to adjust the value again. Okay, so now it disappeared again, so it's the same now. So you would continue to do this for all the blacks and then the shadows, the midtones, the whites, blah 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 blah, every single layer. One more thing before we start. So right now there is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values in the painting. But usually there are some variations in between. If you don't want your artwork to look like extremely stiff, you don't have to match like precisely the same value. Just around there is okay, but not too far. Okay, it still has to look like they're in the same group, but you don't have to be like super precise about it. I am usually using classic mode because I like the square and it's easier to use. So the way to use it is like this. Up is bright, down is black. Here on the right side, up is vibrant, down is black. If you move to the left here is very gray. Here is vibrant. So right now I can see that here is red, right? So I can just pick this color, which is the shadow color. I'm just gonna push this to red and then try it first. So I can see that there is no difference whatsoever. So now I'm here. I need to pick red, but this red is too dark. So I need a brighter red and I need it to be vibrant. So what I can do is I just move it towards the red here and see if I can get what I want. Okay, so now I have something like this, which is quite close already, but it's too bright this time. And I need it to be more orange. So to change color, we use this slider. So we use this slider. Okay, and then I need it to be darker. So when I go darker, I want to ask myself, am I getting grayer or am I getting more vibrant? So I am undecided, so I'm just going straight down. Okay, now I have this and it's too yellow, so I'm just going to push it back to red. Yep, this is the perfect color that I want. So this is how you pick color each time. Maybe a tad brighter. Okay, so once you have the color you want, you pick the brush that you want to use. So here is mainly like foliage, so I'm going to use texture brush. And then when it comes to texture, I can use the crosshatch stamp brush to give like some bushes like this. When I look here, I can see that it's becoming lighter and more brownish yellow. So I'm gonna pick this color. I'm gonna do the same thing again. Okay, one last demonstration. I'm gonna push it to be more yellow. Okay, so push it to the yellow, and then it's gonna be lighter, and I want it a little bit vibrant. So I'm gonna test the color first. Too light. Okay, go back down. Too yellow, so I'm gonna push it back towards red. Okay, perfect. Then use the brush that you think is suitable for that texture. By the way, all the colors that you have picked is all under history, so you can just grab them back if you need to. So when you're coloring, you'll be changing brushes a lot because you are working with a lot of textures today. So just keep an eye out for the textures and what brush is suitable, and then just change accordingly. And then for these areas, you can tell that this and this area, right, they are going into green already, so we need green in those areas, and I'm not gonna worry about that part yet because I can just adjust it once I'm done with the next layer. Okay, for this part here, it's not red, it's mostly going into pink already, so let's just push it to the edge and see if it's the correct color. Maybe go over to this side, and then I can get back to my browns. Where are my browns? Okay. Getting slightly repeatable, the texture, so I'm changing my brushes so that I have more variety in the textures. There we go, we have some blues here. So I'm gonna pick this color, change it to blue a little bit. Yep. Maintain back the brown here, and then switch it back up to green over there. So one hint, when it comes to green, they are usually yellow-brown. Okay. Too bright, so push it down a little bit. Just give a quick sweep here, get back my reds. Shadows usually pretty quick. They don't really have a lot of variety and you can't see them as well, so you can be pretty quick when it comes to working on the shadows. So when you're done, you're gonna end up with something like this, and then now you're ready to work on the shadow layer. So repeat the same thing, make a new layer, and then change it to clipping mask, and then now you can start to paint the shadows. So the color is going to be a lot more apparent here, and you have to be mindful of a couple of things. So let's say I'm changing this to green, right? This green. So notice I'm not picking color. I'm not cheating. I'm teaching you like the real technique on how to do it. So that is like brownish green. So it's going to be in like yellow somewhere there. Yeah, and just give it a check. It's too bright. Okay. So now we got a color already. So just give the area an overall color first so that you can preview it. So now that I have an overall color here, I can identify some issues already because our eye works as a comparison machine. So once you have an area that is full of color, you can make better judgment. So I can see that here it's too dark. So I'm just going to switch up for that area, and I can see here it's too vibrant. So if it's too vibrant, to make it more gray, you go left. But bear in mind that sometimes when you go more gray, you are also going more cold. So you have to adjust the color after that. So if I push it left, you can see that it's getting cold because it's getting gray. And it almost looks bluish right now. So in order to tweak this, you need to make it more warm. So you have to go back towards the warm area, and now it's like warm again. So this is how you tweak the colors. And then right here, I need it to be like more blue. So to get blue, push it to this side and test out the color first. Too bright. I'll just pick this, push it. Yeah. So now it's more blue, but it's way too vibrant. So I need to push it gray. Still too vibrant and too bright. So push it down a little bit and to the gray side. Yeah, this is what I want. Still too vibrant. Okay, so I'm gonna start on these trees because it's really vibrant, right? So I'm just going to pick this color again and get a strong orange in and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to carve out the shapes first. Once you have something like that, it's easier to make a comparison. So I can see that it's too close to the background, which means it's too bright. Keep it vibrant, but make it darker. I'm just going to drop the color in. Okay, good, it works. So remember, you can also carve out shapes in this layer, which is convenient because the background here is blue. So let's just work on that blue first, or else it's going to get in the way. So pick this color again and then swap it to the blue section and test it out. Gonna need to be darker and grayer. So go towards down for dark and then to left for gray. Still need to be more gray and dark. Okay, too dark. Okay, so give this an overall color first. Work big to small. Get back my reds, which is here, and then right here I want it to be like brown again. So I'm gonna pick back the original brown and paint in some trees. And these areas are gonna be green. I can just pick the green that I have and adjust from there if necessary. So once you have something like this, you can just zoom out and do a check. Okay. So here we have a variety of color changes. One is the browns, this area. I'm just changing it back to brown. And then these areas are like warm. So just maintain this brown. I can see that this brown is too gray, so I'm moving to a more vibrant option here. And then these areas are supposed to be darker. Push it here and darker. Okay, gray and dark. As long as you can match the values, even if you get the colors wrong, not a big issue. But if you cannot match the value, you're gonna have a lot of problems later on. So now this part is done. I can work on this part. So here are some greens. I can just pick whatever color that I use. Try not to introduce too many new colors. It's gonna give you headaches. And then these are mostly like yellowish. Okay, for yellow, just push it back to brown and then see if it still matches. Okay, it does. So I'm going more in detail regarding this layer because the closer you get to mid-tone, the more colors you can see. You don't really get a lot of colors in highlights and like shadows. So these areas are the ones you need to watch out for. And then here needs to be like blue, so swap it to blue and see what happens. Okay, too vibrant, so tweak it. Okay, probably not the correct color. Still need to be more gray. And then we get the orange. Okay. It gets very difficult to assess like the value the more vibrant you get, because it's so colorful, right? You can't really tell if it's the same value or the correct one. If you are not used to this workflow, feel free to make more clipping layers on top of each other. So once you're done, you're gonna have something like this, but maybe not as detailed, because usually when all the layers are done, you go in between all of them and rework them to have more details. So now I am going to work on the highlights. So for the highlights, I think it's easier if we just drop in the color first and then work on the other layers. So right now it's this color, but it needs to be blue because the sky is blue. Okay, so once you have the correct color, I'm just going to drop it to the entire painting just so we can see what's happening. Okay, now that I see what's happening, I know here needs to be more purple. So more purple doesn't mean we're going exactly purple, it means we're just pushing towards that direction. And then here is more green, so this is the original color. More green means pushing this direction, green actually, and then more gray at the same time. And then for here, it actually goes back to the original brown, which I do not have anymore. So maybe brighter. There we go. Okay, so this layer is done. Very quick. You just want to work very fast among these layers, and then once you're done with all of them, you go in between and touch up. So for the whites, usually there is not much to do. So for the whites, we're leaving it to the end. Majority of the work lies in the canvas. So for the canvas layer, it's a bit different. We don't have to create a clipping mask. We need to put a layer below all the base paintings. So just below the whites at the end. So this would be the base color. So when you're working on the base color, you're actually matching to the value of the canvas, which is this one. So for this layer, if you see that there are areas where the value is already correct, the color is correct, everything is correct, you can just actually just leave it be and leave the canvas texture visible so that it has a touch of like spontaneity in it. But for now, I need to change this to blue. This area isn't in blue because it's supposed to be darker than this. So let's just use this as a base and go down and get a darker blue. I think it's the same blue here as well. It's okay to make a guess and then adjust it if it's wrong. Carve it out. Make sure to get the shapes correct. And then I really want to put in the yellows. I've been looking forward to putting down the yellows. So just get to a vibrant yellow and test it up. These would be in yellow as well. Because we have already set up all the layers ready, it's really easy to change the colors and see if everything just falls into place. Here goes a bit more orange. And then for this one, just gonna paint a color and then adjust accordingly. Too vibrant, too bright. Then here we have a streak of orange. Pick back the same orange and see if it works. So you can just go on filling up the rest of the artwork like this. I think you just gotta get around to the color picking part and see what works for you. Sometimes just having colors in every layer first helps a lot. This part looks pretty done. It's just a little bit of identity. Like here, I think it needs to be more salmony. Right, a little bit. Yeah, something like that. As for these parts, it's going to be yellowish, but more gray and lighter. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it works already. Then these needs to be reddish. The more precise your colors for shadows and then the blacks are, the easier it is for the next layer and the easier it is for the next layer. But if you can't work like that, just work simultaneously on all layers and adjust as you go. So once you have something rough like this, you can then go into like every layer, like every single one. You start from the top again, like here, and then here, and then here, and then here. So you can go into every layer and then touch up the shapes, make sure everything is pleasing. And then because you have colors already, it's easier for you to work because you can just pick the colors. So just make sure that everything is really tight before you proceed. Okay, then now is a good time to also touch up the white. If you want to, you can just add a color or adjust it as well. So once you're done, you're gonna have something like this, which looks like a pretty complete painting already, only that it does not have any textures, but it looks painterly. From this point, you can add details. So when you add details, you can choose to edit the layers one by one, or just create a new layer on top. So if you create a new layer on top, you can continue to add details like lines or textures. So it depends on what you're comfortable with, but know that at this point you can still add details. Once your detail is done, you should have a group of base painting, which is like this. Make sure that all the layers are grouped and make sure you do not merge any of them in case you need to put impasto like in between them tomorrow. Okay, that's all for the tutorial today, and tomorrow we'll finally be going into the impasto session. So see you tomorrow. Bye.